I think as humans have a very unhealthy relationship with control. And I think that the control comes from a place of fear. And when we're in that space of fear, for example, fearing letting your dog off the leash, fearing letting your cat out of the house, fearing letting your horse run next to you when you're on some trail, they don't get to show us who they really are. And we miss a whole world, a whole universe where we can allow them, trust them to show you who they really are.
Join me, Dr. Allecia Maine, on Ask the Animal Healer, where each episode opens the floor to engaging and vulnerable conversations with fascinating guests and their animals about their journey in life and career, as well as soul wisdom and truth their furry family members have shared with them. We will also dive into the reality of quantum energy healing and telepathic communication as I offer a distance healing session and communication to each guest's animal to discover what they know about themselves, their behavior, health, and life mission with their humans. Thanks for joining us, and let's dive in.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Ask the Animal Healer. I am Dr. Allecia Maine, and today we are going to dive deep into a level of trust with our animals like I have never seen or experienced. So my special guest today, who I absolutely adore and I will probably girl crush on the whole interview, is Guliz Unlu. And Guliz is up in, is it BC or Ontario?
BC.
BC?
Western Canada.
Canada. Yeah. And she is the founder of Aquarius, and she does a lot of work with horses and humans and helping us find, and as well as many other animals, but she's helping a lot of people find their natural path back to themselves with horse medicine. And it's her offerings are so exquisitely beautiful. So Guliz brings a wealth of experience with animal communication and healing that as we get into this podcast, I will share with you what blows my mind about her level of trust. But Guliz, welcome to Ask the Animal Healer, and I'm so grateful and so honored that you are here. And please, if I have missed anything in the introduction, please feel free to fill that in.
They're always odd. They always are weird. It's a weird thing. So I love it. It's perfect.
So can you, I guess, let's start. So we're going to first share about your experiences and how you connected with animals and how you connected with nature and how you kind of led yourself or got led to being here today with the work that you do with the animals. And then we'll kind of dive deeper into your unique life experiences and also how you are helping other people and animals and the unique awareness that you have of how our animals are also here helping us. Mm-hmm. So
thank you.
How'd you get started?
Thank you. Well, I mean, it's all one of the same. The journey with the animal kingdom, with nature, has never not been a path. It's always been following me everywhere. I've just been blessed and lucky and maybe aware enough to take notice that perhaps this is actually what's going on. And I've never sought, I'm not seeking. If anything, I've kind of shied away from the questions. My grandparents were very fanatic Muslim, and my grandpa he would always sit me down and he would just start asking yeah, but why is that like that? And why? And why? And that why, I started to notice that question why would make me feel very depleted, and it would suck the freaking life right out of me. And so I think I just innately knew at a very young age not to seek the why, but to seek the what and the experiences and just trust. You want to talk about the level of trust that I have with the herd and with all of my animals, to the point of sometimes being labeled as irresponsible or, to that degree. And when we have this innate knowing or this understanding, that there is much more to the world than our human little ego perceptions. We become,
Would you share deeper about that?
yeah,
Like,
yeah. And then we
and if it's now, great, but at some point,
yeah,
I would love for you to dive deeper into that, because some people are at the place of, oh, I totally get it. Like they've had the experiences. Some people are like, I kind of want to understand what she's saying, but I'm not sure what she's talking about yet. So wherever that fits in to what you're sharing with us about how you got to arrive to where you are today.
Sorry, I forget what I was saying.
Sorry.
That's okay.
You were talking about the ego, and so you were having these awarenesses, and then you, like, people were potentially calling it irresponsible or, you know,
Right.
not. So you're having these awarenesses and you're recognizing the difference that certain people think certain things about it, but you evolved to a space of understanding things at a level that most people still haven't necessarily arrived at.
Yeah, and because of that, letting go and not needing to know the why is what has brought me here, really.
And what does it look like and feel like from that space for you? From where you may have started as a kid to where it has evolved to now, in terms of your level of understanding and awareness of kind of like who you are, who the animals are, what this experience of life is about.
I think as humans have a very unhealthy relationship with control. And I think that the control comes from a place of fear. And when we're in that space of fear, for example, fearing letting your dog off the leash, fearing letting your cat out of the house, fearing letting your horse run next to you when you're on some trail, they don't get to show us who they really are. And we miss a whole world, a whole universe where we can allow them, trust them to show you who they really are. And that's been, I don't do rules. I'm my son, I'm an Aquarius, my birth sign. I came into this world being a rule breaker. And so I've chosen that path. And so the animals have come in to really encourage that part of my growth and my expansion, to support it and to show up in ways like this property. We're completely off grid now. I didn't choose.
Could you please share about that? Because Guliz has a very, let's just say, unconventional, in terms of the modern world, right? An unconventional living experience. Could you like dive into how you work with your animals and where you are, and go for it?
You know, people have this, most people I talk, probably every single person I talk to has this dream and this idea to go live off grid and live off the land and have all the animals. And well, I'm living it, and it's not, I didn't ask. Again, this is going back to like not seeking and trusting that what comes into my life is what I need. I had a chance. I was living off grid for a couple of months, and I've experienced it in my past with really close friends and people in my life, but to actually do it, I did it for 2 months, and I'm like, I don't want to do this. Okay. But as most of us know how incredibly insane the real estate market is, this is what came, this property, this 40 acres on the top of some mountain on the Caribou Plateau in BC, is not my ideal situation. This is not where I want it to be, but I have to trust. Again, thank God that these animals have shown me to trust the journey, because I know I'm supposed to be here. It's not easy. Can you
share about what that looks like and what that has entailed? Like, did you have a house before you got up there? Is it plumbing? Do you have horse fencing? Do you have and I'm saying this because I'm in such awe of how much to the depth of the level that you trust. And it's interesting, right? Because if we really go back in time, not that long ago, let's just say, give or take a couple hundred years in terms of 13 billion in terms of evolution, people live this way. Like this, that was what was normal. And then we got into this, like, this isn't normal. That's not normal. Like,
They also died at 40.
All right, good point. Not everybody, though. There's some very old pictures of like old, indigenous peoples.
Well, yeah, it gives me a whole other respect for the pioneers that came before us, that's for sure. And the indigenous, I mean, they're a whole other, it is them. They are not far removed from it like we are, as, even though, in my opinion, we are all from this place, we are all indigenous to some degree. But the most recent indigenous or first people, it's in them.
Is your animal not behaving as usual or not feeling well? It might be discomfort they can't tell you about. Discover the root of their issues with my In-Sync body assessment and fascia release technique course, where I teach you to detect and relieve hidden discomfort in your animal's body. See immediate changes in their behavior and well-being. Enroll now at AlleciaMaine.com. Link is in the show notes. Now let's continue.
So what does the setup look like for all of this incredible trust?
Well, we got here, we had a cabin. It had walls. It didn't have walls. It had insulation. No fencing, kind of running water. There was a pump from a gross pond that we have still. So we have a pump to at least get water to the horses from the pond. We have a spring that's not set up for us to actually eat. Everything here is a challenge. There is no creek right outside for us to pump water from. Completely off grid. We have our solar panels we still have to put up. We have batteries, a battery bank. Our water right now, we're collecting rainwater. And when we don't have rainwater, I go to the local store, which is about 45 minutes away, and fill up water there. Or we're trying to get our spring started, but we started getting water from the spring, and it turned out that it was a snake den, and it's illegal. It's a federal offense to dig into. So every single challenge has been, I think, shown to us. So learning a lot. And in relationship, learning a lot about relationship. The horses, I have 5, 1 stallion, one giant, both my stud colt and my big draft horse. I have 3 drafts, 4 really, but the young one is a Clyde Percheron, and they do not respect space and fencing. And so the little fencing that I do put up, he breaks all the time. So I have electric fence, but because we're on the side of a mountain, it's a clear cut. So there isn't much, it's not green rolling hills. So I have a relationship with one of the local cowboys who has his cows. It's on a cattle range. And so sometimes it's fine for me to let my horses out as long as they stay off the road. We have a logging road, our road to get here, which is this steep. We have to get up to our house in the winter with a skidoo and a toboggan. And so for quite a while when we first moved here, I just let the horses go, and it would be a learning experience of like all those years of practicing animal communication or nonverbal communication to really hone in and trust them, and all the amazing different ways that they have been able to let me trust them. And when they take off and they don't come home for a while, I have to go get them. We have wolves, we have cougar, we have grizzly, we have black bear, we have coyotes. I mean, we have it all. And so that has been they're all big horses too. I don't have small, I don't worry about them. And we have there's enough prey out here for the wolves to leave the horses alone.
Yeah.
And so now, because it's cattle, they're on range, I don't want to have my horses eat all the cows grass.
Yeah.
I let them out a few at a time, so they never really stray too far from their group. So I waited for them to get really integrated into a herd, and then now I let a couple out at a time, and I know who can go out with who right now, but maybe I will let them out again as soon as the hunters stop coming. We get dumb city people up here that drive way too fast, and I don't want my horses getting hit. Obviously, the grass on the side of the road is better than the grass in the fields.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how we have it right now, and that's been my big, lesson as well as criticism. I have dogs. I have livestock guardian dogs who gone missing, and I've been judged for not keeping them tied up or fenced, or it's that what we're talking about, that whole trust thing, where we forget that the animals in our lives have their own journey here.
Can you talk to me about that? So from your childhood and then growing into the work that you do, right? And expanding probably from childhood, like all the things that you knew. Talk to me about your path. Like what were your steps along that journey? How did you start with animal communication? Did you start with body work? Like what has been the evolution of that? And how has that work played into, are we talking two completely different things? Like, was that work one level, and then the moving to where you moved and the trust, was that a whole nother level, or was it like an advancing of things? How did your path unwind?
I think just trusting myself as much as I trust the horses, just going with the flow. And now, so I'll go back to being like at childhood. I started riding at 5 years old. I started vaulting. And my mom bought me my first horse, and my mom's not a horsewoman. My dad's not a horseman. She bought me my first little filly, who was a Welsh Arab cross, when I was in just finishing grade 1, going into grade 2. And she was a filly. She was 6 hours old when she bought her. And I didn't have, I had my lessons. I had my pony club, maybe for like a year in Vancouver. And then I learned everything. That little horse taught me everything about trust, about not having the beauty. And that's what I offer here up at Rumi Ridge at our little center here, our little space, is something incredible happens to us when somebody trusts us enough to go and learn by yourself without there is no one to ask questions to. I couldn't take the easy way. I had to learn to be innately intuitive with my communication with that little pony. And so when people come here, I have a very safe herd. I'm not even going to, it's sometimes people will be there and it'll feel like it's too intimate to even look at. Like I just have to set an energetic, like I'm not here. You learn, you figure it out. We'll debrief after if you need to, but go and do what you need to do, because that's what I was gifted with that. And then I got a coach as I got my, I wanted to start showing, and I got a thoroughbred filly after that little girl grew up a little bit. And so I had the best of both worlds. I had an incredible coach who got the babies, who understood me as a baby. And then I started, horses kind of got out of my life, but they didn't. They were kind of always around. And then throughout my life, I had a lot of grief happen with the animals. As people know, if you're animal people, they pass, they come into your life, they go tragically, they go beautifully, all of it. And when I was 20, I think I must have been about 24, my mare, my 17-year-old mare, died in a barn fire. And I wasn't around. It wasn't good for it wasn't good time that I was in anyways. So I really had to go through the guilt. And then I got back into the horse world. I started riding kind of like for professionals. I was their hack rider, and I started training other people's horses. And one specific horse came to my life named Z, who changed my direction, my trajectory, because I started to see how damaging the human world was to horses. And so I wanted to help people change their outlook on the horses. Training methods, communication methods, feeding, everything, nutrition. And somehow I ended up taking equine Bowen therapy, which was not the psychology of the connection, but I trusted. I heard the word Bowen, and then next thing I know, I'm flying to Guelph to take Bowen therapy classes.
And what does Bowen do? Just share what Bowen does for like a horse's body or a dog's body or a human's body.
Yeah, Bowen therapy is an incredibly beautiful, non-invasive. Again, it's all based on the ability of the body, our own bodies. We can take that on many levels to heal itself. And sometimes all it needs is a little reminder. It just needs a little, hey, we're doing this today. Let's look at this. Where are we looking within your body that needs some help? It's like that little child, like, hey, mom, look at me. Look what I can do. And then once you have that attention, that energy is going to move, and then it will evolve into the next evolution. Place. So, and then again, one thing led to another, and everything has just been very much like, okay, I'll do that now. Okay, I'll do that now. And then I met my mentor, Lucia Jacob, of Linking Awareness Adventures. I studied with her for many, many years. And then Body Talk, she was a Body Talk instructor. So she was not even 10 minutes from where I was living. So I took everything I could with she was offering. And, you know, and as there is nothing, it's not separate. Your work is not, you are not separate from that which you were expressing. So it kind of just led me to one thing led to another, and here I am. And the horses keep showing me how they want me to learn. It's not me. I'm done with the training. I mean, I will have to work with my big guy because I'm going to get him pulling logs. That's what he's here for. That was our deal. I have a team of Belgian halflingers. They're an old retired team. So I do some log pulling with them. And my little Warlander colt, he'll be my little mountain riding pony. He's lovely. And then Big Jack is going to be trained to pull logs, to do practical work, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's not a lot of what we work with horses with anyway. I mean, certain small percentage of the population, right? But most stuff these days is performance or pleasure.
Yeah.
And, you know,
and our relationship changes when they know that they're a part of something practical.
Go into that more, if you will, about, because a lot of people too still at this point don't really understand the telepathy piece and like how animals' natural, most basic form of communication actually goes. So a lot of things that people say about animals, a lot of things that they explain, it's their experience and perception of what they believe to be taking place versus truly being able to hold a space to understand what that animal is actually going through. So could you kind of like tease that one out and talk about it? Because I think especially, I mean, dogs are one thing, we don't get on their backs, you know?
Yeah.
And there are certain rules and boundaries that we need to have to keep each other safe and all of that with training. Horses, it's a very different decision because, I mean, a lot of the people that I speak, well, if the horse doesn't have any purpose, what do you mean purpose? The purpose of a horse is being a horse. Like, I have 4 horses. I will probably never ride them.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like, they're my family. They're, I want to give them the best life that I can give them.
Yeah.
And yet, can you take us back to that piece of when animals feel like they're part of something? Because I don't know that all animals feel like they're part of the performance piece. A lot of times people's needs or their agendas can override, literally, no pun intended, like who that being is and what they prefer. So,
well, there's two things that come to mind. One is I have seen, I'm just going to talk about ego for a minute. If ego is involved, horses, dogs, cats, nature, they're no dummies. They feel your intent. They feel, and I do feel that some horses will say, love that job. I feel that they are really into that performance. If the communication and the connection to and with the human is coming from a pure place. I have a lovely friend of mine who's always been an example of that. Her horses, she's into dressage right now. Her horses will do anything for her. She has I'm not going to say no ego. Her ego is so healthy. She works hard. She expects herself to work hard. Her horses work hard for her. She expects her horses to work hard for and with her. I can't explain it better than that. As soon as there's an agenda and an ego involved, you lose them. They're gone. Yeah. And when you can, I don't even know if that's I don't know if that's something that you can like attain. I think it's something that comes naturally and you can practice. So there's that piece. And this girl, I love her. Watching her and her horses is extraordinary. Just, it's not even what you're seeing with your eyes. It's what you're feeling when they're together. And I used to get that.
When there's a big difference in that kind of, let's do this together. So even when you say like she works hard and they work hard, my interpretation or what I just felt was they don't work hard. They're choosing their excellence together. Yeah. And so it seems like there's probably a pretty healthy balance there.
It's extraordinary. And you'll see that. You see that at dressage or at Olympic level. You see that at Grand Prix level. And then you see the other stuff. And then when I'm with my herd, usually I'll be riding them because I'm moving them from one place to another. I'm moving we're coming home or we're going to a pasture, we're going to a field. And I don't want to walk 5 kilometers all the time or 10 kilometers, or I want to be able to do a little bit of both. And so that's what I do. I don't use saddles. I don't use bridles because I don't want to carry them. So I just, I feel like I'm going to ride now. Is that okay? And I'm not to me, I don't put my horses I don't put animals or any being on a pedestal. We are walking this journey and this path together. I know some people who make their animals out to be some gods. That's unfucking fair. You can't do that. That's too much expectation. You can't, I don't feel that that's fair. It's like somebody putting us on a pedestal and then being terribly, terribly disappointed when we have a human moment, And so these horses, I'll just say, hey, I'm done riding or I'm done walking. Can I please get on your back? And even if they're like, no, because sometimes they're bratty and they just want to go and eat. And I'll be like, you know what? My parameter right now is I feed you guys. I work to pay for you. Like there is some give and take here. It's not all I'm not just going to go where the horses go because that's not healthy either. There has to be that give and take. And then that's in that tension is where you start to learn those little nuances or these little gifts of communication that you would never have. I don't even know how to explain it. So when I first got Halo here, she's my mare I got from a dude ranch. And she's been in my dreams. I've wanted her actually, like knew she was coming for 7, 8 years. And she finally arrived this year, last fall. But she came with arthritis and ring bone and side bone, which is like, you're not supposed to ride them. And she ran away. She came here and she ran away and she ran away and she ran far. And so I had to have this little talk with her when I brought her home. Can I just, you little shit, can I get on your back? But I felt bad. And then I got this real like rush of peace over me when I asked her. She kind of looked at me and she's like, she didn't say anything. I don't receive my information that way. It's just feelings. It's just feelings. And she's like, get on. And so I got on, but I only got on her where it's soft and grassy and it's flat. It's not rocky upper hill. So there was that compromise, or that balance, I'll say. And it was delicious to ride her, just to feel her bareback without a bridle and just allow her to take me home. We don't give ourselves that freedom. We don't trust ourselves. We don't trust our animals enough, or our horses enough, or our dogs enough to give us those lessons. And those, even though it was like minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, it was, it's an embodied bliss. You keep that with you forever.
I think you expressed it beautifully, and it kind of starts like with trusting ourselves. And the reality is most of us have such a skewed perspective about trusting ourselves, let alone trusting the animal world. You know, I mean, I don't think my parents disliked animals, but whether it was with a dog or with a horse, it's like, you need to be careful. And it's it's a fascinating turn of events, like being around a herd of wild horses when you have like no halter, no lunge, no, like you have no way of protecting yourself except so deeply tuning into trusting your own body instincts, trusting the feel of the herd, being smart enough, like, these were formerly wild animals. They could whip around in a second. If they're going after each other, like you could get knocked over. Yet that level of trust has grown so much. And I grew up in the Bronx, and I would travel down to, it was around 42nd Street, because I'd have to hop on a Greyhound bus to go take a bus to see my father in Pennsylvania, so Port Authority. And back then it was drug dealers and it was gun stuff and it was prostitution. And I just remember trusting myself that nothing would ever happen. And then being around in that herd of horses, I was like, I feel safer here than I do anywhere else. And these were formerly wild animals, because everybody said, you're not supposed to trust them. They're dangerous. They're this or that. And you start going through this work and you're like, oh my God, I really start to see who the untrustworthy animal is.
Exactly.
And it's so how did your path evolve to where it is now, and how do you work with the animals, and how do you work with the people, and how do you support the animals, and how do you support the people, and where have you arrived in your journey with your animals?
Where have we arrived? We have arrived, I feel like, in a place where there's a real deep knowing that there is nothing separate, that the energy, to get woo-woo, energy is energy in the quantum field.
It's not woo-woo, it's woo-way. People just don't remember woo-way, right? So it's not woo-woo.
It is truth. And so when I'm, today I had a session or a observation with a woman and her dog and her cat. And last night I had a session with a woman about her business. It's nothing is separate. Even our business is a part of ourselves. And so when you can see that and know that, we are able to, if we can remove ourselves, again, anytime we speak, there's going to be filters. We that's us humans. That's how we communicate, is that's through our own experience. And so it's really, to me, it's important for me to do my work in being as neutral, non-judgmental, and just staying in that compassion and the love for the beings that I'm observing. And it's all based on the quantum observer effect. I'm not doing anything. I'm not forcing anything. I have no agenda. I don't, at the end of the day, this sounds harsh, but I don't care. Like, I trust that everyone's journey is their own journey, and I'm not going to get in the way. I can help shine light on certain areas, like a flashlight, based on what I'm feeling and seeing. So behavioral stuff with animals, again, like I do business coaching with people. I do equine coaching to help people get closer to their horses. It's really just seeing where the miscommunication is, if it's between a person and their partner. I've done couples coaching. Like, it just doesn't end. Now I'm getting into grief coaching or grief counsel with people and their animals. I feel like I've earned I've my own qualifications for that in my experiences with animals and the perception of loss. So I'm moving more into, like, my business coach calls it niching. But
how do you find the people that, because it's losing an animal, I mean, let's just be real and not to be mean, but sometimes it can literally hurt more than losing a human being.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if we're working for ourselves, if we have a soul animal that is so deeply under our skin, you know, that, like, we didn't even realize, we can't even imagine, like, how do I even function? I didn't realize how much a part of my nervous system you are. So what kinds of things are you finding with your clients in terms of offering that grief counseling? How are they, I don't want to, like, go to the results, but how are you finding it assists them with that process? Because it really is a very tricky, challenging time, especially, you know, there's people that don't have kids, but they have animals. So your animals become like your kid. You know, there's people that have grown up most of their life into their adulthood with their animal. How do you find this work assists people going through that?
Just like anything, people, when I go to somebody, when I want to process something, I don't want someone telling me what to do, what to think, how to be. And I think that when people go through the loss of the animals in their life, unless you're an animal person, you don't get that compassion. You don't get that listening depth from people. And with my work, I feel like I have had so much of it in all ways, from a fire to my dog going through the ice drowning, to going missing, to a dog that I still have missing right now, to dying in my arms from kidney failure. Like, it's been a lot in that way of continually asking for a bigger perspective. And that's what I bring to people, is an ability to be able to allow their animals to go through their own process by looking at their own attachment, by not projecting their own goopy emotional stuff onto the animals. So it's what my intent is, and this is what I hope that I do with people and their animals, is give them a much more peaceful, it's gonna fucking hurt no matter what, but to give them a really beautiful experience of it, so that that's what they remember. They remember they can access the grace in the process. They remember they can access this eternal bond. A lot of people have guilt around. I still have guilt. I'm dealing with it because I go into the higher picture, the bigger picture, the higher ground of what it's about, and I'm able to do that because I've had to do that with my own mentors and people teaching and showing and guiding me. Otherwise, it's too painful. And it's too painful.
Yeah.
It's
painful.
Painful. And We are not good with pain. We are not good with death. We are not good with the perception of suffering.
No. It's interesting because it's, in so many ways, it's the animals that have helped me learn how to find those qualities. You know, like I was a kid, I didn't even want to talk about it. Don't talk about death. I can't face it. I can't go. And as I spent more time with my animals, as I spent more time practicing Qigong, it was sort of like, oh, this is actually part of life. This is not something that you can avoid. This is not something, I mean, it is something you can push away, but that doesn't make it any easier. And it's so fascinating because through experiencing that with them, whether it was clients or my own animals, and just actually being able to be fully present,
Yeah.
I lost the fear.
Yeah.
You know, and I lost the terror of, well, what, like, like when this ends, like what, you know. And while I still don't fully 100% know what happens because I haven't experienced it yet myself, it is just amazing how much they can teach us, you know, about that subject and so many other subjects. Yeah,
and there is
all
no
the time.
separation. It's all the same. And
Yeah.
that's where we as humans and our egos get stuck. And once we can humble ourselves, you know, take that
Yes.
jagged little humble pill and realize that it's okay. It's okay to not know it all, and it's okay to be messy, and it's okay to just not, it's okay to be scared. You know, but that
it's okay to feel. Like, it's okay to feel what we're feeling. Like, just feel it.
Yeah.
You know? I love that.
And that goes also, you know, with my horses. If you want to leave. Like, if you want to have a different home, I'm not attached to it. It'll break my heart, especially my little nugget. But if he's like, I want to go and live with my auntie Allecia, then okay. Like, we have to be very mindful and discerning between our own attachments and the actual truth of what this sentient beings, also their sovereign private life.
Right? Because we so often forget, it's like they have their own journey I just was dealing with this day ago. My dog just took off out of nowhere. She just like vanished. And I was like, I cannot take this. I was like, if you want another home, that is so cool. I'm okay with it. I won't be thrilled. I will miss you.
Yeah.
But please let me place you there so I know that you're safe.
Yeah.
As opposed to having me have to walk around like, oh my God, and it was just really, really interesting because, you know, I know how I grew up in life was supposed to be a certain way, you know, parents die before children, animals live out their lives. And then you start living life and you're just like, ooh, stuff doesn't always go the way we think it's going to go. And we forget that they have a soul that came here to learn things and possibly came here to be with us, possibly came here to be with other people. And like you said, in our ego and our arrogance, we're like, this is the way it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
And yet we don't even really take the time to ask them.
No. And you, the other night, you helped with that. And thank you for that. I've had a different perspective we have a puppy and we have a few dogs, and the big dog, my big livestock guardian dog, who has lost two of our dogs and one of his buddies. I kept interfering because she's so tiny, she's a little blue heeler, and he's so huge. And you reminded me to trust him in teaching her so that I don't have to do the dirty work. They're all doing it for her. Even if, like, he had her pinned the other day and she was screaming bloody murder, and I went to her after just to make sure she was okay, but I let him do it. you know, so.
And what did you notice like happened with her,
Um,
with her behavior, with him?
I didn't notice anything different. I just noticed that I trusted myself, and I noticed that he kind of looked at me because he knew in the past I would give him shit for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel our connection has shifted because guess what? Now he's trusting me to know that I'm trusting him and he knows what he's doing. And thank you again for reminding me of that, because for some reason we all get into the like, I want to protect her. I don't want her to get hurt. But look at, again, like how horses, I don't beat my horses. I don't hit my horses. I don't, unless they're like being assholes and running me over and invading my space, then I will get horse on them. If I have to bite them, I'll bite them. I've kicked at them before.
You see how they get with each other.
Exactly.
I mean, a double barrel kick to the side, that shit hurts.
Yeah.
Thank God they never do that, you know, or unless we're not listening, but like,
they take chunks.
Okay, better that they do it to each other.
Totally.
Right. They take chunks out of each other.
Yeah. As long as we're not coming from that fear, like I have to be very careful when I'm in that space with them, especially when I'm putting feed buckets out, that I'm not scared. Because if I'm scared and I'm acting out that way, it won't work. But if I'm coming from a place of, no, this just is how it is, guys, and you're not coming near me. And if you
That's how they are with each other.
I will bite you. I will step on your feet, and I will give you what you're giving me. So, you know, the respect. We're going back to Jasper, and he's now, I mean, he doesn't have permission to obviously like do the death shake on the puppy.
No,
but he's not like that. He's not. He's a gentleman. So I trust them.
Yes, and that's so huge, because with my wolf dog, you know, when I saw that so much of her behaviors obviously were way more wolfy than dog, it was like, wow. And I got her for the reason of learning and studying the energy language of the animals, like the things that precede body language, you know, and it just was remarkable to understand that from her, because I'd have puppies and sometimes she'd like really get at the puppy and I'm like, you can't. And she's like, you don't understand how we work. She said, we will lay down fierce energy real quick because I'm not going to tell a puppy 15 times like you will. And it was like, you know, and I'm like, okay, just don't hurt them.
Yeah.
Speaking of cute little puppy. So, oh man, this is I'm so glad that you joined me on this, because it's not a conversation a lot of people have in having animals, and also understanding probably like the most foundational levels, right, at which they understand things. And like you said, you know, look, there has to be an element of respect here. Like, you're your size, your horses are huge. You know, and there's got to be an element of respect. But that's exactly what the animal kingdom teaches. Yeah. I mean, they don't have to go after each other. There's not a ton of violence aside from eating. Yeah. There's not really a ton of violence because they're taught respect from a young age. Yeah. And it's just, one of the things that came to me through Ayana was, you know, you humans are very loving, but you're very emotional. Yeah. And you don't understand the difference between getting upset and getting frightened and getting angry versus getting fierce. Yeah. And just saying, hey, you know, like, here's the boundary. Don't cross it. Yeah. But it creates respect in the animals versus what we do oftentimes when we get angry. They get afraid of us, like, oh my God, you're actually not stable. Versus when we get fierce and they just are like, okay, I can respect that. Yeah. That's what they learn from their mamas, whether it's a dog, whether it's a horse, whether it's a giraffe, whether it's a hippo, elephant. Like, there's boundaries. I love you unconditionally, and there's boundaries. Yeah. Well, this has been a fascinating journey with you. So I'm curious, do you have like one of your horses that I'd like to do, if you're open to it, we could do an in-sync body assessment and foster release, because I like to show people what the animals understand about their own bodies in real time, like how the quantum actually works. Would you be open to?
Yeah, I'm gonna take you out. Ow! I'm gonna take you out to the herd. And the only thing with this is I have to like, I can't flip it like my phone, so.
Okay.
I should have.
So I do not know Guliz's horses. I've never connected with them before. I've seen a couple of them on her Instagram page, but I haven't really delved in to communicating with them. So I don't know anything that's happening with them. I don't know if there's any issues. We'll just see what their bodies have to say, and Guliz can confirm for us if her horse is feeling energy. So she and I are probably about 2,000, maybe 2,200 miles from each other. And her horses are all pretty well tuned in to energy. Who do we have here?
This is my 2-year-old. This is Big Jack. He's my Clyde Percheron cross.
Big Jack is humongous for 2 years old.
He's
I
giant.
mean, probably not for a Percheron, but he's big.
He's big.
Oh, big boy.
Yeah, he's big.
Okay. Do you want to ask him if it's okay? Like, do we have his permission?
Yeah, and you know what's interesting about him is that he comes through with such curiosity. He's very clear.
Yes.
And there isn't. I mean, he's here, so that's.
Hi, buddy. All right. So basically, what's going to happen here is I'm going to use my thumbs. I'm going to start at the tips of his nostrils. A couple of inches, I'm going to go up his face, and we're going to see if there's tight fascia tissue. And we'll go down his back, and then we'll do his belly line. We'll see if there's any tightnesses that he's got that, oftentimes I find with animals, we get behavior issues or we get health issues. And a lot of it is coming from tightnesses and unrecognized pain that we can't see. Like the horse isn't lame or the dog isn't like obviously hurting somewhere, but they could have knocked themselves out of balance. So I just like to do these sessions to basically show the audience in real time what this quantum work that I do is, and Guliz does quantum work also. So I will also give you information from, her website and being able to work with her with your animals as well. So I'm just going to start by putting my thumbs. I was asking him, I was like, is it okay if I work with you? So we've already got a little bit of licking and chewing. So right side is a little bit compressed down. Now the fascia tissue it's almost like saran wrap for the whole body, but really what it does is it contains neural networks that basically tell the entire body, I think, including the brain, what to do, how to be, and it's how the chi flows through our system, and chi is our vital energy. So when we say everything is connected and everything is energy, we mean it. All right, so I released the right side, feeling down a little bit more, and I'm going to go about 3 inches up his face, and I'm just gently feeling if there's any tightness on the left or the right or anything's compressed down or, popped up. So we actually feel pretty good here at this point, maybe just a tiny bit tighter on the left than on the right. Now I'm going to go up another 3 inches, so I'm just underneath his halter where his nose band would be, over his nose. So we got a compression on the right and the left is a little bit popped up. So sometimes what you might see with the horse is like he started as soon as I touched his nostrils, he kind of started with the licking and chewing. Sometimes they're just going to go into deep, deep relaxation. Sometimes there'll be like a little head nod when the fascia tissue releases. Sometimes there'll be a little bit more blinking. Sometimes there'll be a deep breath. Sometimes there'll be a stretch. Sometimes they'll even just walk away and then come back because they're like, hey, you adjusted something and I need to complete that adjustment. So I'm not talking to him, asking him to do anything. I'm just letting him know where my fingers are touching his face, even though we're at a distance of probably over 2,000 miles. And Guliz, please feel free to share anything that you're sensing or feeling. And, you know, if he does something that we're not aware of, I'm going to move my mic a little bit. Just what you notice when aspects of fascia release for him. Okay, so that's released. So now I'm right in the center of his nose where his nose halter would be.
So he just took a nice big inhale and exhale.
Awesome. So he was just, it wasn't that anything was off, he was just a little bit tight, so we just loosened up that tissue. So when the fascia gets released, what happens is the animals, the mammals, like any of us, even if we had fascia release work, we kind of get softer and we can breathe deeper. And when that happens, we can be healthier. It optimizes our brain chemistry. We're actually more relaxed and more fluid in our movements and in our work. So, all right, so we got the middle. So now I'm going up another 3 inches on his nose. So we got a little bit of a rotation. So the left side feels like it's rolling a little bit over to the right in terms of the fascia tissue. Right is a little bit compressed. So just releasing. He could have just smacked his face on something or maybe gotten nudged by another horse. Whew. Okay, so as that is releasing and rotating back, I just feel like more energy flow is going up through his whole nose and his whole face. He's very cute. So I'm not talking with him, asking him to do anything, but he's very cute. He goes, I'm sensitive and I'm curious, but I also like my privacy. He's like, not everybody has to see me releasing. Okay. I'm going up another 3 inches on his face. So we're kind of right about here. Point would be on his face. This time we have a little bit of rotation. So the left side is a little bit compressed and the right side is rolled a little bit forward. It's got a tiny bit of tension in the back of his left jaw, just a little bit. Okay, so
and can I share something too that I've noticed in my world too, in exactly because what you're observing by the law of resonance, that in our field, your field, including the human, the dogs, anyone else in the field that is also experiencing some kind of an imbalance there also experiences a change. So as you're saying that, I felt my gland on my left side open and teal. Yeah. So awesome. I didn't know. I'm not here doing anything or even thinking anything. I'm just watching. And so interesting that you observing him also helps the human shift as well.
That's that piece of quantum entanglements, right? That like we do, like you said, it's resonance. We are in resonance. There is nothing that's separate. Yeah. So because you two are so close, not just physically, but like emotionally, spiritually, soul-wise, you could literally be feeling, you know, and you could be feeling what he's feeling, but also too, like we have to ask ourselves sometimes too, did you have any tightness in your left jaw? Like, was he helping you release that? Like, it's fascinating, right? Like to go through this, because everything that the medical system tells us is like in this box, and it's supposed to be all like in a box with a bow on it. And then you realize, but we're only learning about 10% of what really is true in health and healing for the animals and for us. Yeah. So they have this brilliant way of being able to show us and teach us very, very simply what else is, you know, happening in the field. It's amazing.
And another thing I will say and note is it's interesting that this guy came up because I have the least amount of attachment to and with him. I have a very unique relationship with him. So I feel like paradoxically that it even opens up more of a co-healing experience because there is no agenda or there is no
Yeah.
attachment, and there is no, it's not, again, that's not that I don't care. It's just that non-attached, as my mentor calls it, non-attached compassion.
Yeah, totally. And that doesn't mean you're not taking care of him. It doesn't mean you don't adore him. It doesn't mean any of those things. It just means, cool, I get it that you are who you are.
Yeah.
And I am who I am, and we're co-creating life. Okay, so I started on his eyebrow. Well, I started in the corners of his eyes. Right side was compressed down just a little bit. Left side was popped up a little bit. And I don't know, is he opening his jaw, or is he? I just can't see from his.
He's going. I'm not
side.
going over there because I'll lose connection. But he's gone to a salt lick.
Okay, awesome. I noticed that a lot. They kind of, if they get body work, I don't know always in person, but at a distance, oftentimes they want water, they want more salt and minerals to process. So then I went up to his eyebrow point. So the right eyebrow point was pushed back a little bit, the left was a little bit forward. So I released that for him. And then it came up to his forehead, and also too, like his forehead felt like it was a little bit rotated from the left to the right up here in the center. So just gently releasing the fascia tissue there and letting that kind of like balance out, and him feel like there's no compressions or torques in the face. It just feels really balanced for him, and it feels like more of a free flow of energy. I just can't get over that that's a 2-year-old. He's very large.
He's very large.
He's very large. Okay, now I'm just going to come to the ear point right in the front part of his ear before you would go into the ear. Right side is compressed a little bit, left side is popped up and into the midline a little bit, so just releasing that. Now I just felt like that left side of the jaw release, and he was a little hooked on the right side in the gland area. So that now just kind of feels like, oh, okay, it's open. There's not much else I need to do with it. Just when I'm aware that, like, oh, you're tight there, is it okay if I release it? That's all that's really happening. So I'm going to top of his head. It's got a little bit of a tension compression downward on the right. Left is just a tiny bit popped up, so releasing that. I'm going to go to his occiput. So occiput, right side is pushed forward, left side is rolled back a little bit. So right at the back base of his head before we get into his cervicals. That's got to be, I mean, I don't know how much they weigh when they're born, but that's got to be like a huge growth spurt in 2 years.
Massive. Huge.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Huge.
Okay. Wow.
That's why he has, so, I feel like that's why he's not very spatially aware. He can't keep up. Yeah.
Well, and it'll be cool too to see, like, okay, with this opened up, like, what do you notice? Because I already feel like a different level of maturity starting to take place in like his emotional field, you know, the big little kid, but now it's like, oh, actually, there you are. Like, you are a little bit over. He feels like a little bit older of a soul, but he's been growing through this young body. But it does feel like he's got a more expanded awareness than sometimes what our bodies allow the energy to move through. It slows it down a little bit. All right, so we got C1, C2. C2 is just a little bit tight on the left. C3. Interesting, I'm just watching your other horses too that he walked over there. Okay, C4, C5. C5 is just a hair tight on the left. C6. It really does kind of honestly look like you're up in heaven. Like, if that's what heaven looked like, I'd say you're there.
Pretty much.
That's okay. Yeah, you know, heaven can have sheds and outhouses, right?
Pretty much.
T1. T2. Okay, T2's got a little bit of a compression on the right, little popping up on the left, just releasing that. He's still going at that salt block, huh? T3. Okay, good. T4. T5. T6. T6 is a little compressed on the left, little popped up on the right. Just releasing that. T7, T8, T9, T10, T11, T13, T14, T15, T16, T18. Okay, so pretty much all of his thoracics are in pretty good shape. And I'm sure that if you've done body work with him,
Yeah.
have you done? Yeah. So he's doing good.
A little bit. I feel like I do feel like there was something in his birth. I feel like either lack of oxygen. I feel like I don't know his birth details. He does have a little bit of a white line around his eye, on both eyes on the outside, and I don't know if it's like lack of oxygen at being born or something to do with his head being.
His occiput was out a bit,
Yeah.
and the way that the plates in the forehead and the eyebrow bone. Now, it's possible he could have gotten kicked. So you know, he's a baby. Somebody at some point is going to tell him, Junior, knock it off.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think they did anything to hurt him. Yeah, it's interesting when you say that, because right now, like, so I went through his thoracics. I went through his lumbar. Lumbar 1 was off just a little bit. Everything else seems lined up. And I'm going on I'm on his sacrum 4 right now, and sacrum 5. And he's kind of he's like, it feels like what you said. If there was a birth trauma, he's just like, okay, he's remembering what it was, but he's allowing his body to just gently release it, as opposed to, you know, if he was born and there was any kind of struggle. Because it feels to me more too like something got wrapped around his neck.
Yeah.
Now, not 100% if that was a birth trauma, or it could have happened when he was a foal,
Yeah.
right? But I definitely see what looks like a rope around his neck and him panicking because he was like being choked. I don't feel like it was anybody's fault. I don't feel like somebody was trying to do something mean to him or abuse him. I just feel like he got so his tissue got stuck in the freeze, and now I'm like, okay, well, you're here now, so you just let that release from your system. And he's just letting that go. There we go. And now he'll start like shifting back into his natural normal breathing. But it does feel like he went through something where it was like, I can't breathe. And, you know, with horses, like, could it be something around the umbilical, the umbilical around the neck? Could it be like the panic of a little baby just going, oh my God, I'm stuck. And even if it was for 3 seconds, you know, it could still be the trauma in the tissue. All right, so checking his chest. He actually is really, really even. His shoulder girdle is a hair shifted to the right, and his chest bone is shifted a tiny bit to the right. So I'm just moving that into center for him. And now he's kind of starting to ground back into where he is in the present. And now I'm just going to draw an energy line from his belly. From his chest bone all the way down through the front of his chest. Yeah, he did. Like, there was a moment when he panicked and he kind of stopped. He got frozen with his breath. And now it's like just starting to balance through. And now coming underneath his front legs. And coming down through his diaphragm. And going down through his solar plexus. He's just gently having me stop at his solar plexus for a sec. Just holding there.
It's interesting too, because when I do private, when I work with people in the herd,
Yes.
He's very much like he wants to bring people into his chest and into his solar plexus, and I can see a mutual so-called healing. Like I can see the human, the reciprocity between what he's exchanging with them and what he's also receiving from the human. He's so receptive that way, so it's not surprising that you're spending some time in that like solar plexus, that heart, that chest area, the thoracic area, basically, because he really feels good having. I mean, I can brag about my clients a little bit, but they're pretty amazing, and have them really close to him as well.
Yes. I wonder if he's been asking any of that, like, so bringing them in to where maybe they got closed off also. But the other thing that's coming up is, do they have the capacity to be able to release that in him if they feel it also?
Absolutely.
Okay. Because I feel like, too, he's been like, could you help me out here a little bit? Like,
because as you know, in this quantum world, it's all in resonance. And your healing, my healing, is their healing, is our healing, and whatever you want to call healing. And I've seen it. I've seen people come here to receive from them, and the herd ends up receiving incredible gifts from people that come. It's beautiful to watch.
So
and they're not abused.
That's the first. No, and that's the first words that were coming. I was like, that is so beautiful.
Yeah.
And that it's free choice. Like they don't have to come over if they don't want. They're not on duty.
No.
It's not like, hey, you have to carry this person on your back. It's just hanging out in the energy field, and they get to choose it. The human gets to choose it. It feels like the most respectful energy that we could have, between each other and between our species. Okay, so that line is coming down through his belly, and I'm just about at his umbilical cord point. And all that does is it reconnects him to his mom and his original birth blueprint. So if there's anything that he's got to release or anything that he took on, he gets to release it.
I love how still he is right now.
I know. And I didn't ask him to stand still. I didn't ask a word. I just said, are you okay if I go through? But look at that. Oh, nice, buddy. So is he gelded?
I'm not. No? Yes, they did, but I feel like he's proud cut.
I just feel definitely like there's some scar tissue stuff at his in his private areas. So we got the umbilical cord point, and now I'm just gonna like kind of hold a little bit of space to relieve. And he's a little tighter and pulled up on the right side, a little more relaxed on the left. So just letting that fascia tissue kind of like even out and just settle. He's so cute. He's just so cute. And I know his size is very big for a 2-year-old, but it also just feels too like there's a part of him that just matured. Like, just feels like he's older maturity-wise than 2. There we go. That just dropped down. Okay, perfect. So now that feels good and it feels relaxed on both sides. Okay, just going to check his hips. His hips actually feel really good. They feel really balanced and aligned. I'm just letting that open. Okay. And now I'm just going to put him in an energy healing grid. So whatever was released, he can just let that go. And whatever those releases took care of that's now letting his chi flow with ease, he just picks it up and he moves forward from here. There you go. Okay. How, because you know him and I know that you tune into his energy really, really well. How's he feeling?
processing it. I think he's
Mhm.
got such depth to him that he doesn't
does.
let in. Like, there was probably a good year that I couldn't. He's been kind of, I call him, this is a horrible expression, kind of like the problem child. Like, he's been my challenge in connecting, in kind of understanding. But the cool thing is he's one of the easiest for other people.
Mm-hmm.
So him and I have some kind of a karmic contract that we're working through. And
Interesting. I'd love to know how that feels over the next couple days. Like, does it feel like it's still there in terms of like he's showing you things about you and he's growing in his own awareness, or does it feel like just a little softer and easier with him?
well, we'll see. I mean, because of the nature of how I like to run my herd, or the herd,
Yeah.
this herd,
Yes.
he gets into everything. He wrecks shit, and he wrecks all my fencing, and he's just like, because of his, he just doesn't care. And maybe, you know,
I don't think he knew how big he was. Like with some of the restrictions that he had,
he
I'm
doesn't.
not
No.
sure he realizes like his actual size.
Yeah.
So it will be interesting to see over the next few days, like, does he seem like he's much more aware of his size and his boundaries?
Yeah. And that would be mentally as well, because he will do something like, we just moved this tack room here, and it's my feed room, and he'll do something like, he'll make sure that I'm not around, and then he'll go in there, and then as soon as I come out, he knows he's not supposed to be in there. And then I'll walk away or pretend to go and walk away and turn my back, and he knows what he's not supposed to do, and he still does it. So that's the kind of, that's what he's showing me. And it kind of gets in between my partner and I, because I have a nice kind of, I had a new truck, and he's put 2 giant dents in my truck. He's walked all over our tin roofing, and he's broken things. You know what I mean?
Boundaries.
So,
yeah.
exactly.
And that too, you get to say, look, I get your 2 and I get your growing and I get it.
Yeah.
And like the same thing with how the dog was like, you gonna let me correct the puppy or not correct the puppy? I don't know. With this one, you're the one that's setting that mama boundary. Like, I love you. I love all of you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually the lead mare, and there's going to be certain things that you can and you can't do that are off limits.
Mm-hmm. And I do, and I have, but he's still.
Yeah.
And then now, after we got this mare, so she came last.
Mm-hmm.
She's the last one to arrive, and I let her do it now with him, because she puts
awesome.
They are so hard on him, and I feel for him. Like, I really do feel, but I will let you know if that changes, if I see the herd dynamic, if they're being a little kinder to him.
Curious too. So is it hard on him, or just extraordinarily clear about fierce boundaries? I don't ever want to have to tell you, don't do that again.
And in that, it looks as hard on him, because they bite him hard. They put him through my greenhouse the other day. Like, they're not gentle with him. Because why? Okay. Because he doesn't move when he's asked. And then, in the herd dynamic, it's important for their safety. So
100%. So let's see what happens with this too, because part of it could be if he wasn't fully grounding in his body, right? If some of his tissue was stuck, if there were some things off balance, he might just not have been reading it right.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just see how that energy shifts for him and shifts for the herd.
Yeah, I will let you know. That's cool. Yeah.
Okay. All right. How can people find you? How can people connect with you? How can people learn more about working with you?
Through a website, Aquarius, EQUUARIUS.
Okay. Say it one more time slower.
EQUUARIUS.
Okay.
And
dot
my
.com?
website, but yeah, .com. So website as well
.com.
as Instagram and YouTube. We try to do
Awesome.
something there.
They can find you same name YouTube, same name Instagram. Awesome. And do you have any things coming up or any offerings like open now that you want to share with people?
Yeah, I've always got, I offer private retreats. I was trying to do the whole group retreat thing, but I realized that this herd right now is really interested in working one-on-one with people or couples.
Okay. Awesome.
So that is, we open up in August and September, which is our nicest times here.
Okay.
And of course, private sessions and my Grieve Well program for people who are going through some kind of a loss or perception of loss and grief for any animals that they're moving through, letting go.
Okay. And so your work also too, you can connect with anybody anywhere via Zoom.
Anywhere.
Anywhere. That's because like the one good thing about this thing is that it's like the inseparability of everything, right?
Yeah. And there is no doubt anymore in my mind. And not that there ever was. I always just felt like I had to convince people. And I've gotten to the point of like, the sessions speak for themselves. What happens in a herd, in a horse session? Yesterday I had 2 horse sessions and they were just like, as it is so incredible when us humans have an external validation of what is, it induces that feeling of awe. And in that awe is where the epiphany happens and it lands and something happens on a cellular level that it is embodied. And so it does not matter. Of course, it's great when you're in person because you can smell and hear and feel, but it doesn't make it a lesser experience when you are, as you know, working by a distance.
Yes. And also, it doesn't matter if you have a horse or you don't have a horse. Like, people can connect with you about themselves and work with your horse herd. And then if people are having problems with their animals, if they're having behavior or health issues, they can also contact you to address the root of that as well.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yay. Well, I am so honored to be able to get to spend this time with you and your family up there on like Heaven on Mother Earth Ridge, on Rumi Ridge.
So lovely.
And I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for you as a human being. That's first and foremost. But I'm just so grateful that you were willing to share your wisdom. And thank you so much for all the work you do with the humans and with the animal kingdom.
It goes both ways. I love you and your work, and we wouldn't be able to appreciate each other if we didn't have some kind of a truth resonance, you know?
Right.
So your work is extremely important and powerful as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. And if you would like to connect with me, all the links are in the description. It's alleciamaine.com. And if you want to learn animal communication or you want to learn distance body work, you can take a look at the descriptions. And thank you all for being here and watching. I look forward to hearing an update on how your boy moved this through your body, moved this through his body and your body. Like, what shifts? Let me know.
I will. Thank you.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Ask the Animal Healer podcast. We will be returning soon with another episode. And if you have questions, if you have comments, if you have certain things that you would like to know, please feel free to connect with the link in the description to my email and share that with me. And we'll see what we can do to accommodate you. Have a beautiful day, everyone. And thanks for spending this time in communion with the animals, with our beautiful friend Guliz, and just wishing you all heaven on Mother Earth. See you next episode.
Thanks for tuning in to Ask the Animal Healer. I hope today's episode inspires you to build even stronger bonds with your animal companions. Don't forget to visit our website, AlleciaMaine.com, to discover more about how you can revolutionize your relationship with your best friends. See you next time for more insights and stories right here. Until then, keep listening and loving your furry animal family members. Bye.